Greetings, respected viewers. I'm George from Ireland. So here I am in front of Isambard Kingdom Brunel statue in Paddington Station. Well, he's one of the most famous engineers the United Kingdom's ever produced. And that's why he's memorialised here in a station that he is so connected with. He was born in Portsmouth in 1806. His father was a Frenchman, Marc Brunel, who was a refugee from revolutionary France. His mother was an English woman, Miss Kingdom. Parents were married, and he had a couple of siblings. So Portsmouth's on the southern coast of England, and his father was an engineer, but was teaching in the UK. But the family's in financially straitened circumstances. His father ended up in debt to the tune of £5,000 and was imprisoned for debt. This was at the time of Charles Dickens. But eventually he let it be known he might go to Russia to work as an engineer there, and the government wouldn't risk such a gifted engineer being lost to the realm, so they paid off his debts. So Brunel was someone known for his academic precocity, mastered higher mathematics in his early teens, and was obviously absolutely bilingual. And his father, when he was 14, arranged for him to go to the University of Caen in France. The French standard of education was far higher than Lycée Henri IV in Paris. So he came back to the UK and he worked as an engineer, and there were no qualifications as such of an engineer. He's best known as a civil engineer and a mechanical engineer. And it was a time of the Industrial Revolution, so there was a huge amount of opportunities for such a dynamic young engineer as himself. And so he was often arguing with his maths teachers about buildings that would stand up and those that wouldn't. But almost 200 years later, many of his constructions have still stood up. Anyway, so Brunel, he was very involved in the building of the Great Western Railway, which is from here, London, Paddington to Wales, and building the Three Bridges Canal and the Clifton Suspension Bridge in Bristol, and Maidenhead Bridge, and all sorts. So, because this was when there was the railway craze, and the railway king was almost crowned at Yorkshire, but not him. What else did he do? Building the SS Great Britain. SS not being Schutzstaffel, but steamship. The first one, which was propelled by a propeller. Prior to that, propulsion had been by wind power. But he died just before his maiden voyage to New York. Died in 1859 of nephritis brought on by his heavy consumption of cigars. So watch out, otherwise you get Bright's disease. He'd already suffered a stroke sometime before that. So he may come across as a very dour and serious-minded figure, interested in things, not people, but he was light-hearted too. He liked to perform party tricks with his children, swallowing coins that once went wrong for him, had to be suspended upside down, that was knocked out of him. Other things hadn't managed to get it out of his system. Building the Royal Albert Bridge and many more things all around the United Kingdom. So that's his middle name is from his mother's maiden name. This was quite common in those days. So he's married, he had 3 children. One of his sons followed his father's footsteps. So some of the things to do with him, like the wharf where the Great Eastern, that ship was, no longer exists. Meant to be a troop carrier. It was just so big it was a bit impractical. It was only sailed for about 10 years, then broken up, and the parts sold on for scrap, which is a pity. What else about Brunel? And there was a pub here at Paddington Station called the Isambard, as in Isambard Kingdom Brunel. So they held the Greatest Britons competition about 2002, people to vote for the greatest British person of all time, and he came second in the poll, quite astonishing. He was a very short man, liked wearing his topper, maybe that gave him more height. There we are, fond of his cigars, and some tobacco champion said, well, come on, he's one of the greatest Britons. So is Churchill, who came to the top. Tony Blair comes in like 66th, who was an anti-tobacco bigot. Well, that is Isambard Kingdom Brunel. Engineering is really not my bag, but there's no doubt that he was a very distinguished and innovative engineer who built things that people thought couldn't last. And that's why there's Brunel University named after him at Uxbridge. He had no connection with the university, and he didn't live around Uxbridge, but he's just named in honour of such an estimable person who was such a fine example to so many people. Well, that is Isambard Kingdom Brunel, and you can have a good look at the station around him. The Great Western Railway, GWR on the train there, going to Cardiff and Swansea. Why is the roof so high? For the smoke in the old days, steam trains. Okay, you would have got grit in your eye. All right, so that is enough about Isambard Kingdom Brunel.